Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with Cindy Magnuson, and the show is about to begin. So, slow down, take a seat, put your feet up, and maybe take some notes, because this show is about you, it's for you, and it is designed to help you receive exactly what you need to be a happier and healthier you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twilight Epiphanies Radio, episode 31, and this ninth and final show in the current run of the Twilight Epiphanies Honor Roll series. Tonight, I am celebrating Carol Simler, President and CEO of DuPage Pads, an organization that is dedicated to ending homelessness. DuPage Pads, located in Wheaton, Illinois, was founded in 1985, and it is the largest provider of interim and permanent housing coupled with support services in order to help individuals work toward becoming self-sufficient. These vital support services enable the individuals they help to receive services such as case management, life coaching, employment support, job coaching, engagement with employers, all working towards effectively stopping the cycle of homelessness. Throughout the course of its life, DuPage Pads has received many awards of recognition for their exceptional work and their plan to eradicate homelessness. In 1995, a study by Northwestern Illinois and Wheaton concluded that DuPage Pads could be used as a prototype for other communities across the nation. The organization has received both HUD grants and large monetary donations to create and implement online volunteer training, as well as to be used in the supportive housing apartments. DuPage Pads has also received numerous not-for-profit Agency of the Year awards. In addition to, last in 2018, they were awarded the Exceptional Service Nonprofit of the Year from the Oak Brook Chamber of Commerce. Per their organization's missions and goals, their website states, DuPage Pads is so much more than a pad on the floor. It is about the journey home from dependency to self-sufficiency, not the shelter, not the night spent in the car, in a motel room, or on the street. DuPage Pads is a journey that begins with an extended hand, an affirming voice, and a trusting soul that will advocate undividedly for each individual. And in my words tonight, in order to carry out these wondrous deeds of high merit, it takes true humanitarian individuals who are ready and willing to meet the needs of those who are seeking help. As we all have become aware, if you want to know how an organization is run and what it is all about, you look to those who are in charge, because it is those people who are heading the leading energy that is the core resonance of any enterprise. In that, although I am aware that she wishes to continue her humble nature and integrity to this divine cause without unnecessarily embellishments, her foremost characteristics are to be simply doing the job that she feels need to be done. But nonetheless, tonight, I would like to honor the woman behind the heart that guides this exceptional plan. Carol herself has a unique beginning to her journey with DuPage Pads. It wasn't until her late 40s that Carol followed her inner wisdom and made the choice to achieve her master's degree at a local college. After a 5-year application of her will and determination, Carol arrives with us today as the President and CEO of DuPage Pads. To quote Carol in her unique position, "What we do is we take people from a pad on the floor to a key in the door. And this key is what every person who we work with here in DuPage Pads is a key to unlock their door and unlock their futures. Because when someone believes in you, everything can change. So tonight, let's bring on Carol and not only hear about this expansive organization that provides multiple ever-growing opportunities for disadvantaged families and individuals. We also have the time here tonight to get to know Carol, where she can share her very personal and upfront experiences within the organization. We additionally will have a surprise guest, a very honored volunteer at the organization, and we're going to save that surprise announcement for who that person is a little bit later in the show. So let's welcome Carol on. Hello, Carol, and welcome.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
You are very welcome. So, Carol, how I like to begin with anyone who is a first guest on the show is to have them tell us a little bit about, I kind of like to go back to childhood influences. So you work with a very humanitarian cause, and you were drawn to that cause. If you were to look back into your childhood and state what you see was an influence or an experience that you feel headed you in this direction and was very inspirational and motivating to you, what would you say that might be?
Well, when I look back at back to my childhood, which is a long, long time ago, I would really look to my parents, because both my parents were active in community organizations and congregations, and they had that spirit of community as part of our family, and so it was embedded in us. I have a cute story about homelessness before I even really thought about I was going to work with people who are homeless. My grandparents lived in Oak Lawn, and we lived in Westchester. And when we would leave my grandparents' house one night, my mother said, "Oh, let's go down Michigan Avenue." And so we did. And we saw the lights and the lake, and it was beautiful. But my dad somehow always in our life kept us grounded. And so he turned down Madison Avenue, which at that time was the old Skid Row. And we drove down Madison, and that was my first indication of people that could be homeless. It was mostly men, and they stood around oil cans that were ablaze with fire, or slumped in doorways. And I had never seen that before, to be honest with you. And that was my first inkling of what that might be, homelessness. And so that, I think, tells you a lot about my parents. And who they were and the profound effect they've had on me and our family, that we carry that through now to our families as well.
Very beautiful. And we can thank them for that. And of course, that still nonetheless was your choice to be influenced. So definitely there was a big opening in your heart to care about the full spectrum of experiences here, not just one side of it. And then, so you did not, start your educational level here that brought you into this organization till your later 40s. And can you tell me how that all came about?
Sure. I don't want to offend anybody when I say this, but in my senior year of high school, one of the religious sisters said to me, "Well, you're not really college material." And that was a long time ago. And I thought, well, all right, I'll go to work. And at that time, college wasn't really, for some it was encouraged, others it was go to work after school. And so but I carried that message with me. I wasn't college material. And yet I knew somehow that I was street smart. I could pick things up fast, and I understood them. And so fast forward that, and I went to work, and then I was married and started having children, and got active in our community, got active in our congregation, and I was really a force behind change in our congregation. And I saw the tie between service and what we celebrate on Sundays. They should go together. And so I was ultimately seeking for our congregation what's now termed as a needs assessment. And I went to Catholic Charities, and I saw that they had a process in Chicago, and I wanted that same process out here in the Diocese of Joliet. And the woman that I was talking with at the time said to me, "Where did you get your leadership skills? If you didn't go to school, if you didn't go to college, where did you get all this from?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. It's just innate in me." And I joined a couple things that had given me some leadership experiences. So we did that needs assessment, and we had a change in pastors. And my values and his values were not the same. And I talked to the same person, and I was hired at Catholic Charities. And when I was at Catholic Charities, I was hired to do case management, which I knew nothing about, and work with Catholic parishes around the diocese to really assess and to build up their service, their service ministries. And at the same time, I started realizing that if I wanted to be in the social service arena, it looked as though I needed a degree, but that message was there. I wasn't college material. And so a friend of mine came one day, and she said, "I just finished this at the College of DuPage, and I think you better look at this course of studies." And it was the weekend studies for adult learners. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And I did. And I remember the first time I was in that class, I just fell in love with it. And it was adult learning, and we looked at 3 topics at once, 3 courses. And I was asked to be interviewed for at that time, the College of DuPage Quarterly. And they came and they filmed me, and on the front page of the Quarterly was my quote, "I absolutely love the way I'm learning." And so I realized that if I had 75 credits by the end of a quarter, I could get into the 2-year school, which I did, and so with that, I applied, and I was accepted. And in two and a half years, I had my undergrad degree, and that was from National Louis. And then I thought, well, I'm on a roll now with my education. And I went and looked at graduate schools, and one was too clinical. Another one was expensive, and I really didn't want to go west. And I really thought about it, and I went to an open house at University of Illinois at Chicago, and that is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for more advocacy, community work, management. And so I applied, and I got in, and I was accepted. And so in 5.5 years, I had a master's degree in social work. So that's my story. And I'm really a proponent of women, and especially women around my age or a little bit younger that haven't had their education, to really encourage them to get that education, because I think I didn't really learn that much in graduate school. What I learned was the theory behind why things were happening. And so I'm a proponent of women in education, of women getting ahead as well, and breaking those glass ceilings. So
very
that's my
nice.
story, Cindy.
That's beautiful. And then you didn't start until what year then did you walk into DuPage Pads and begin your relationship with them? And what did you come in as there? So
Sure.
I'm aware, okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh, I was going to say that I think you came in the late 1990s.
I did. I came here from Catholic Charities in 1997, and in 1999 I became the president and CEO. I came in with I took a 3-year challenge down in Joliet to start a family support center with a shelter. But I was losing contact with DuPage. I lived here, and pretty soon I wanted to be back here. And so I was approached to be the director of their of DuPage Pads, the overnight program, and I thought, well, okay, I'll take that job, and then I'm going to look for something else. And there was quite, sometimes we don't listen enough to the messages inside of us, and I should have listened to the message that was going on in my mind, which was, I don't know that this is a really good place for me. And after 2 years here with 2 executive directors, it was acute operating crisis, and I went and talked to that same friend over at Catholic Charities who had now been another agency. I said, I'm not going to stay here. It's a toxic environment, and I'm going to give my resignation. And she hired me to work over there at her agency, and I came back, and they terminated the executive director, the second one, and asked if I would stay as interim, and I did, thinking it was going to be a very short time, and it kept moving along very slowly. And I finally said to the board, I have another job waiting for me, and I'm not going to stay here and not see that there's change happening. And although, if you'd like me to stay and be the president and CEO, I would consider that. And Cindy, that's how I got my job.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know that necessarily
wonderful.
would happen these days, but I took an agency, the challenge of an agency that was an acute operating crisis, to become today an award-winning agency with a strong mission and a strong presence in this community. So I don't take the credit for that. My faith is deep enough that I know it's not me. It's us. And when I took this job, I put signs up, and I still have one, that from this day forward, it will no longer be I, me, or mine. It will be we, our, and us. And that's my belief.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a winning model. It shows, and most certainly being the largest provider and the tremendous amount of partnerships and all of the congregations and support services that you work with. So I'm looking forward to having you tell the listening audience about some of those services. They are amazing. So for instance, in 2009, it says that let's go back a little bit. I think it was in 1995. That was a little bit before. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but, in 1995, I was kind of curious about this. It said that a study showed that DuPage Pads had a working model that was a very good prototype. So when you came on then in 1997, would you say that there were just management issues, but they had a good working model that you wanted to see improved upon? And
yes.
Then it comes... Okay, so then it kind of comes
yes.
up to 2009, and it says that a philosophy was instituted called Housing First. So can you, even before we get into the programs, maybe tell us about those changes that you saw that were important, that needed to be implemented, that really became even stronger working models within this, base there?
Sure. When I came in, they only had the overnight system from October to April. And that was my first concern, is from October to April is fine, but homelessness is 365 nights a year. And so that was my first goal, is to have overnights 365 nights a year. The second was the support system that we have. We have a daytime program that was a drop-in center. And I remember walking over there and bringing a friend who came to visit. And she said, I don't see life. I don't see energy here. And I looked around. I said, there isn't any. And so that was something I wanted to change. I wanted, my mother from many, many years ago, whenever we were sick or whatever, she would say to me, wash your face and comb your hair. You're going to feel better. And it's true. And so at the least, I wanted people not to come and just sit without hope. And so we really changed that model to reflect energy, to reflect motion in people's life, the opportunity for change. And then the other piece is we're one of the wealthiest counties in the nation, and right now we're in an affordable housing crisis. And so is the nation in an affordable housing crisis. So my concern was, if we're going to end homelessness, where are people going to go? Where are they going to live? What are the kind of support systems that they need? And what about employment? What about having people look at careers versus I'm just going to get a job? And so the other piece that I changed was I don't like to use the word shelter, because that really defines somebody. But if we look at it as a time in a person's life, and we can provide interim housing for the overnight system, that's a temporary stay. And then the other is, what are the kind of supports that we need to have in place? Right at the front door is the first time we meet somebody. That is the first opportunity we have for people to start looking and trusting us. And so we start our casework at the front door, and then case management is threaded through everything we do. We have case management in the housing programs, in the overnight programs, in-depth case management during the day where people are looking at their goal plans and what is the necessary support around those, and then our career employment solutions. So all that changed. It didn't change overnight. And when I thought about having 365 nights a year, in theory, it sounded good. In actuality, it took a lot of work. So during the winter months, which is October to April, we have an average of 160 beds every night. During the summer, it drops down, depending on the capacity limits of our overnight sites, to 100 or 125 beds. So that's a significant drop, and during the summer, we can't take people from outside the county. Now, you had mentioned that we rely on congregations and we rely on volunteers. We don't have a permanent overnight site. We don't have a permanent, what they say, permanent shelter. What we have is congregations opening their doors every night and welcoming people in. We work with over 4,000 volunteers who every night, it's like a floating motel in this county. And so every night they're coming, they're purchasing, preparing, and serving their food. They serve dinner, breakfast, and offer people a bag lunch to take with. They're there welcoming people along with our staff members from 5:30. Our sites open up at 7, and they close at 7 in the morning. And so they're starting at 5:30. We open the door at 7. People come in, and then one shift of volunteers ends at 10. Then we have another one 10 to 2, and then 2 to 7. And that happens night after night in this county, moving from congregation to congregation. There's pros and cons with both kind of models. That permanent site and then the congregational site that we have. Both have pros. I don't know one is better than the other, but that's what we have here in DuPage County.
Beautiful. What a wonderful improvement. And yes, I saw that are you up to, I think it said 160 congregations that you work with?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yes.
And that's both, we have 30 sites in the county. And so 30 congregations are saying yes. They're opening their doors one night a week. They're providing us a place where pads can be set down for people to sleep. It's not my favorite thing, but because of portability and storage. They're offering us storage space for the pads, the pillows, the blankets, the other kind of supplies that might be there. And then also a kitchen facility. Not necessarily does it have to be an industrial kitchen, but we're looking for warming, stovetop, and refrigeration, and then also the ability to clean. And then washrooms. Now, certain congregations have really expanded because of this service or ministry, however people would like to look at this. And then they've incorporated showers and laundry that they're offered for that particular site. So, and it's amazing service. I was just talking to our volunteer coordinator today, and I said, "What do you like best about your job?" And she said, "What I like best is meeting the volunteers, hearing their stories, why they're volunteering, and then to see their commitment to the people we serve." So it really is amazing. I've met people that were there in 1985, the first time the first site opened at St. Mary's of Goston in Downers Grove, and that's an amazing commitment.
Wow. Yes, indeed. How beautiful and how heartwarming. I can feel the energy, and just what it reminded me of how I even chose to talk to you tonight was that, of course, I know your son, Christopher, and he had posted on his Facebook page the advertisement, the short video about DuPage Pads, and as soon as I saw it, I could just feel the energy of success in there, and this humanitarian, heart-based organization. It just beams from it, and you can feel it all through there. You're talking about, that person being that long, and it would have to be that kind of an organization also, with the solidity and unity that you talk about, to even have someone want to participate for so long. So wowza, congratulations on that. And so there is a time that the people who are coming for the stay in this interim housing overnight, that they check in and that they are out at a certain time. Is that how it works?
Yes, that's right. We also have family sites. If you think about the 3 train lines that run into the city of Chicago, the train line that goes from Naperville to Hinsdale are family sites. And so they open up at 6 o'clock, where families with children can come in for an hour early. The children get settled, and then we welcome in individuals then at 7, and where dinner is served at that time. So but the norm is from 7 to 7.
Okay. And then the eligibility to enter into the interim housing, is there special eligibility and things that people need to know?
Yes. So we take individuals, we take families. We do not take convicted sex offenders. People have to be 18. If people are younger, they have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian. We don't take people with criminal backgrounds we take people with criminal backgrounds, but not those that are unacceptable or violent. So we don't take violent criminals.
Okay.
And we're able to check those things right at the front door when we run through different lists that are available to us for that.
Okay. And then, so also it's considered like an extension of this, you also have a street outreach program?
Yes. I love this program. We have a street outreach program that we engage the community with this. And certainly we're good partners with all the police departments and the fire departments in the county. We meet with them every year. And we also meet with the librarians separately every year as well, because we want them to know about our programs, and we want to hear the issues that they're facing so that we can partner together for better service. But the street outreach program, we ask the community to identify people that they've seen on a regular basis, not I think this fellow or this woman looks homeless, but no, you're consistently seeing them. And so we have a number for people to call and report this to us, and we will take the information and then call back to verify. Oftentimes, we are already seeing people. So once it's verified and we don't have them on record, a team of case managers will go and start to engage the individual or the family. And we do that by also bringing out supplies. So they bring backpacks filled with socks and water, and during the summer, mosquito spray. People don't think about that, being outside, what that means, suntan lotion. And so our goal is to engage people to move them either to our interim housing program or to a facility that's better suited for what their needs are. And it takes a long time to gain somebody's trust. It takes a long time for us to trust one another. And yet, this is a lifestyle that some people have known. People say to me, "You believe that people want to be homeless?" And I don't. And they look at me, and I said, the day I believe that is I need to leave. Because what I believe is that people have not had the opportunities or the supports. They carry trauma with them that I don't know about, and unresolved trauma. And so this is the way that they come to in this point in their life. I think by gaining people's trust, there's a man who lives in a tent, and everybody in the community knows. One community member even torched his tent about 2 years ago. And to me, that was inhumane. And in doing that, all his identification was burned. So we were able to work with him to gain that identification. It also had some medical problems that left unattended, because if he left that, it would be destroyed. And so we were able to get him to the hospital. We arranged it all at 3:30 in the morning so that he could get back by 7 o'clock and feel safe again. Some people are like, well, he wants that. And I said, well, I don't agree with you. He may want it right now, but I think what he really wants is the support that he was lacking all in his life. So, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm Joan of Arc or anything, because I'm certainly not.
No, but
I do think it's important for people to understand that about people, because it's so different than the way I choose to live or my family lives. And yet, it's their way for right now in their life. So, anyway.
No, I agree. And there's something for them to sometimes experience until it gets to a point or that spark of change comes into them. They feel ready because some person they're presented some missing piece that they need. And I think in the circumstances, people just they lose more of their true self, and a different energy is there running the show a little bit more. Sometimes their true self is more in the background, but it's always there and ready. So I do believe that, and I believe that's very true. So I support what you're saying. I think it's a wonderful, heart-centered view to look at it, and I commend you for being able to hold it, because it is, I believe, difficult for other people, as you were saying, to look at it with such an open-mindedness and open heart. So you provide additional services then, and you have a program called Career Solutions Program. So once someone's in and they are able to present that they want to move forward, what are these career solutions portions of the program that you offer people?
This is one program I just am so proud of to talk about. I think it's very different. Certainly we have the basic components. People are, number one, they're referred to this program by their case managers. So the referral comes to to their staff over there. They meet with the person, assess their needs, and then we offer many, many things. So we've just instituted a career employment soft skills program. I have to give testimony to my son because he works in this area, and he was very generous to come and work with our staff in really developing this program. So kudos to Chris Simler.
Yay! Shout out, Christopher.
One day Chris called me up and he said, "Mom, you have to stop using the word employment." I said, "Oh, okay, what should we be using?" He said, "Career." And I'm like, all right, it makes sense to me. So
yeah.
We have computers. People can, we have basic computer classes. But our employment soft skills program includes career readiness. And so we work with the online assessment tool to assess people's readiness. And it's a very positive, it assesses people on their strengths and how to move forward. And then also we have the Transforming Impossible into Possible. This is a 6-week program, 2 sessions a week. We partnered with Dr. Philip Hung from Loyola University, which his program has just been recognized across the country of really looking at the barriers that keep people from either seeking employment or continue to be employed. And I have known no other program like this. And I just was at a meeting down there with him, and I'm just so impressed by him. He talks about our clients being honored guests. And I love that, the way he looks at this. What happens is it helps people to look at those things that keep us from moving forward in our lives. Moving forward, what are the barriers and what are your hopes for your life? And let me give you 3 examples. So our staff are all trained in this, and they don't stand up and teach this. They sit amongst the table, so it's a round table. And they're doing their work as they're helping people to do their work as well, their interior work. And so one of the classes includes everyone getting a sheet of paper and the ability to write a letter of forgiveness. You could write the letter to yourself. You could write it to someone else. But it's your letter. We'd be happy to mail it for if you want. One kind of burly guy said, "What is this, a setup? Where's the Kleenex?" And all around the table, people had tears in their eyes of what they were writing to forgive mostly themselves. So then, fast forward a couple weeks, another sheet of paper. talk about where you have been and where you are now. Same man presents his. The top picture was half a heart. He said, "This is how I've been living my life." And in the middle was a picture of a Band-Aid. And he said, "I'm pretty much been Band-Aiding everything. But going through this program, and he drew this, I now have a full heart." And that's what this program has meant to me. And so it really looks at, we have a little graduation ceremony too, and the box of barriers become smaller than what their hopes and dreams are. And that's pretty interesting that that's able to happen in a person's life. I have a cute story. A woman who's went through there, I saw her over at the health department. She was on a walker. She came here. She's in our housing program. She then moved to a cane, and then she was walking by herself. Her barrier to employment is transportation, and she can't drive, and that's what she wanted to do. So in her basket of celebration was a rules of the road, and she took that, to help her. And the next week she has her permit, and so her brother is now giving her driving lessons, so that barrier can get out of the way. So that, and then I have to credit Chris because social coaching is a model we just kicked off this month, and it is a 4 or 5 step program that works with mentors who are skilled in either resume building, interviewing skills, or getting the job and then keeping the job. And we've set up computer lines for them. They spend one hour one-on-one with their mentee, and it establishes this program of support. So we're really excited about this. This is very different than any other programs that I have seen. Chris gave testimony. I said, "Chris, we are just so blessed to have this and the talents that you're bringing." He said, "Mom, I wanted to do this program for 20 years of my career." So kudos to my son.
Oh,
so that's
my.
that program.
Yes, indeed. That is beautiful.
The other interesting thing is, volunteers, we really do want people to come and, to lend their best selves to us and the clients we serve. I was giving a talk about a year ago, and one of the senator's wife was sitting there, and they became partners of ours. I called to say thank you, and she said, I was just thinking maybe I could get involved. I said, all right. I said, well, how would you like to get involved? When she was working for one of these big IT companies, she retired. She said, well, maybe I could teach computers. And I'm like, all right. Well, guess what? She's the one who leads it and develops the curriculum. So that's what I mean about being blessed here. We really are, with people who want to help other people be the best that they can be.
Indeed. I saw, yes, you have a financial fitness program, a women's wellness group, Harmony, Hope, and Healing. You help people with legal services. Oh, my goodness, yes, I see the basic computer class. You work with not only computer skills, but also nutrition, helping people recovering their budget and repairing their credit. Alcoholics Anonymous, and then you also have improv there. So a group that was started from a volunteer who is a graduate of Second City.
Yeah.
So
isn't that fun?
Beautiful. Yes, it is fun, and that is what it takes, because those are the special places that they haven't been involved in, and perhaps don't feel like they're ever going to feel like they ever fit in there. And once they're in there and doing those things, it breaks those barriers. You said it breaks them out of that fear experience. So yes, I love it. And so
can I just
yes.
tell you something about Harmony, Hope, and Healing? Harmony,
yes.
Hope, and Healing is a therapeutic music program, and they come every other Thursday. And I've always wanted a choir, and we had the opportunity to take 10 of our folks that are in Harmony, Hope, and Healing down to the Daily Center right before the holidays, and they performed with a group from Atlanta and also from Chicago for 1 hour at the Daily Center. And I just was so proud of them. And everybody, they had black pants, black top, and they were just beaming. I can't express enough how much that meant for them. And what, they came back, and I heard the reports back from the overnight volunteers and staff of what an incredible experience for them. So, and the improv, we use that before our job club just to kind of loosen people up. And they can laugh and get, they're relaxed and, ready to talk about next steps for them. So, and then, the other programs are our partners in the community. The domestic violence shelter comes in and offers a support program for women. Haas, Health Alternatives, comes in and works with our substance abuse folks. We have Prairie State Legal, who sends a pro bono attorney over here to work with our folks. So that's just some of the people, and our partnership with the DuPage County Health Department as well. So we have many, many partners that come and we work collaboratively together.
Yes, your site has quite an extensive list. So, wow, that is very nice divine giving there. And then, so you also then have a referral system if people are moving into this area for the supportive housing program. And so what does that entail?
Our supportive housing program, right now we have 110 apartments, and we'll be increasing that to 123 as of October. Supportive housing it's a HUD-funded program. So if people look at our budget and say, wow, you have government funding, I don't mind taking any of that money from HUD, because in 1985, the mental institutions closed their doors without a plan for people. And people were on the streets, and all of a sudden there was an increase in homelessness, and there was no plan. Well, supportive housing is part of the plan that they should have had then. So the eligibility for this program is that people, individuals, families, veterans, they have to be on the streets for a year or more with a documented disability of mental illness, substance abuse, or a disabling health condition. And we have a coordinated entry system here in the county, and so people come off that list, and we own one building, and all of the other, it's a 12-unit building, we have an office there too, but all the others are scattered sites with different landlords in our communities. And we really are saving taxpayers money, because last year we saved more than $4 million because people aren't going in and out of the ER as their doctor of choice. They're not necessarily going into the criminal justice system, making poor choices in our community. And so the whole effort is to get people housed, keep them housed with support. Our case managers are in and out a couple times or every week a couple times a month or every week with those apartments, and to get them integrated back into the community so they are our community members. So I really do like this program, and took a risk to say yes, we'd start it, and who'd think we'd have this many apartments and this many people that now have a place to call home in our county.
Kudos again. How wonderful is that, and successful. And, you had mentioned then that you're working with a college professor, Dr. Fung, I think maybe you said his name was.
Hung,
okay.
H-U-N-G.
Hung, okay. And so in what you're seeing happening now, you're becoming more expansive. You worked with interim housing for 1,000 individuals in 2018, and fed many, many more meals, thousands of meals. And are you seeing an increase in homelessness as you are also being able to work with more? And is there any, I know you're in a different section of it, but is that also something you have an understanding of what factors might be increasing homelessness at this time? And is there any type of studies that you are familiar with that would help with understanding that?
Well, I'm seeing it pretty flat, to be honest with you, the numbers. And, it'll go up a little, down a little. And people say to me, well, that's a lofty goal you have to end homelessness here in DuPage County. I said, it is. And quite frankly, if all the systems were working together, we could do that. But they're not, and we don't have enough. And so I say we're ending homelessness individual by individual, family by family. The biggest barrier to ending homelessness is housing and having adequate housing, and we do not. So I am involved with the DuPage County Health Department, Mercy Housing, and DuPage Pads in an effort to really develop housing that meets the needs not only of the workforce housing for seniors, but also people that are the lower income that need housing as well. And so that is an effort that we have now going in the county. And I'm very excited about that, to bring lawyers, bankers, developers together around the table with us. So we just got the endorsement from Choose DuPage for workforce housing. We talked to the Mayors and Managers Association this week. So that's on the move. But until we have housing that people can afford, where the what they make and the rent ratio, where they're not paying over 50% of their income for housing, that's a crisis. And so that is a big deterrent to people moving forward. The other is the lack of enough mental health services. And, we have mental health services for people who want to be engaged, but it's that engagement of people who one day they'll say yes, and then the next day they change their mind. And so how do you move that along? One of the go-tos for me is the National Alliance to End Homelessness. Every year I go to their national conference in Washington, and I've really picked up what seemed to be a theme last year is from the Constitution, and the first three words, we the people. And I use this as we the people. We have to act like a community, and we act like a community because we care about each person in our community. And we the people can be possible, making change and having a community where we have enough to eat, we have enough places to live, and we have enough support for those who need it. So the National Alliance to End Homelessness, there's a national low-income housing that I'm associated with as well. So those are really my go-to, the Corporation for Supportive Housing as well. So I think those are three that I always look to get a broader picture as well.
Beautiful. I agree with you. It is a matter of rearranging the systems so that they are working together. Right. And that's everything about unity again. Everything has been divided, and it needs to understand its holistic, whole approach, working together. And again, as you said, changing these words, I really love that, into career, not as a shelter, but interim housing. And that does make a difference when you take out what was previously perhaps a negative label and turn it into a positive energy statement and your whole feeling about it. Yes, it gives someone, opens them up. It gives them that opportunity, if they're ready, Yes, and it sounds like it's working very well. And so your organization also then, as you said, has 4,000 volunteers, which is mind-boggling when I think of that number. And you have a training program. So what types of positions are open as volunteers, and how is it organized if someone's going to be a volunteer with you? What procedures would they go to, and what different positions are open?
Sure. People can visit our website, www.DuPagePads.org, and they will go to the volunteer section, and they can fill out a registration form that will go to our volunteer coordinator. Our volunteer coordinator will then respond to that invitation that people have been offered to come and join us, and talk more about what's available to the individual. And then we do have about an hour, you can do it in 10-minute sections, training for people to better understand the population, and also it's more focused on the overnights. Beyond the overnight, which is obvious, where we need volunteers, there are other ways that people can get involved with us as well. Certainly our special events. We have a big one coming up in March. And then also things when you think about like the senator's wife, who has 6 skills that we can really use in the different programs. The mentor program for the social coaching is another where people can get involved in a different way. Certainly our board of directors, our committees as well, for people to get involved. We have a young professionals group that I'm just so excited about, and they are as well. I love their new idea. They said, we need lapel pins, and we have lapel pins for them. So it's a way of identifying and being able to talk about, wow, what's this about? So they were excited about it. And I'm excited about them. I love to be around students who are learning now about social service, about homelessness, about nonprofit management. I like to be around young people because their lives are so different than how my life took shape. And so I think it's good to have different ages and diversity here amongst those of us that are really working so that people can have a better tomorrow.
Oh, yes. And so we are going to be taking a commercial break here. And then when we come back, we are going to bring on the line a very special volunteer who is Aiden Simler, who is Carol's grandson and her son Christopher's son. Friend of mine, Chris, is a musician, and Aiden received the 2018 Youth Service Award from the City and Mayor of Naperville, along with Kids Matter, for his 700 plus hours of volunteering. So we're going to have a little chat with Aiden when we come back from this commercial break. So Carol, I will see you after Aiden's little chat with me, and so we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes for you to change the speaker over there, okay?
All right, thanks, Cindy.
All right.
Feminine Frequency Radio Network hosts shows 7 days a week. Call in to listen live 929-477-1183 and dial 1 to connect to the studio to ask a question, or listen online via blogtalkradio.com/Feminine Frequency Radio Network. Organic Frequency Radio Show is 1.5 hour live chat with Stephanie and Oksana and their lovely guests about the nature of existence and holistic way of living here and now, and perhaps even after. Join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time, Call-in number to listen live is 929-477-1183, and to ask a question, press 1 to connect to the studio. Our guests share their stories and walking path of their healing, along with services that they have developed and packaged for the rest of the world to experience and benefit from. We're here to hold a space for an exchange of experiences for the purpose of evolvement and expansion of consciousness.
Hello and welcome. You are now entering the corridors of Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with your host, Cindy Magnuson, premiering Thursday evenings, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Feminine Frequency Radio Network. You are invited on a talk radio journey to the center of self. Join us as Cindy guides you, the listeners, in sensory and perception upgrades where revelations and golden epiphanies pierce the veils of illusion. Don't miss this opportunity for your next dose of Twilight Epiphanies. Okay, everyone, welcome back. And we are just going to be opening up the line again, and we are continuing with Carol Simler, who is President and CEO of DuPage Pads. And now we are going to have a little chat with her grandson, Aiden. So let's open up. Hello there, Aiden.
Hello.
And hello, how are you tonight?
Amazing. How about you?
I'm very good, thank you. So, Aiden, how old are you right now?
12.
And how old were you when you started to accumulate these 700 hours of volunteering?
7.
7 years old, so you have been doing this for 5 years. My. And so when you first started to volunteer, what do you remember what the position is that you first went in as?
I started off with a lemonade stand and started raising money, kind of like how a simpler way, kind of. So I would just go. My mom gave like a little thing, just gave like a message to a person in our neighborhood who would send out the message to like all the 400 houses in our neighborhood and say, hey, look at this lemonade stand that's on the corner of De La Salle and Simler in Naperville. And then they would know where to go see my lemonade stand.
Oh, so you not only have done volunteering at DuPage Pads itself, you also have put together and worked on fundraisers.
Yep.
So what else have you done as a fundraiser for raising money for DuPage Pads?
Well, I've been pretty much that's mostly. I've been raising money and I've hit about $8,000.
So altogether,
all 5 years.
Oh, okay. So over 5 years, you have personally helped to put together $8,000 that was donated to DuPage Pads. Yes?
Yep.
That is wonderful. And so have you done things like bake sales or ice cream sales, anything like that?
No, just a lemonade stand.
Okay, so this is your thing. You're kind of well known around there for the lemonade stand, huh?
Well, yes, and I also have my friends, or as some people would say, coworkers, to help me.
Okay, so what was one of the biggest days you ever had that you were selling lemonade? How much lemonade did you go through?
We usually buy about it's like a Costco brand kind of thing, lemonade. So it's like probably out of like 5 glasses, I think it was, and we sold like $1,300.
Oh, wow. That's a very successful lemonade stand indeed. Very good. So you have a group of friends who have helped you with this.
Mhm.
Okay. And do you do this on a once-a-year basis or a few times over the summertime? How do you usually work this?
Well, we do it once a year. We plan the whole thing out in whatever time in the summer, and then we do it usually in August or early September, and we usually plan it out, get all the posters ready, and then we start setting everything out, and then usually at like 11 or 12 we go out and start raising money.
Okay. Do you also get donations also? Do people also come over and just simply give donations?
No, yes, that is true. They come over for kind of lemonade, or sometimes they'll just give money.
Okay. Mhm. So are you still at the same location that you started at, or did you have to move to a bigger location? So are you on a corner or a parking lot area where people can pull into? What is the location that you usually do your lemonade stand in?
We're just on a little corner that's close to like the entrance of our neighborhood, but not too close where it'd be disturbing. Which is in DuPage and Simler in Naperville, Knoxville, Illinois.
Okay. And so now as a volunteer and working a little bit closer with this organization, do you talk to your friends about doing fundraisers? Is this something that you've been able to, you personally brought your friends in and talked with them about how good it feels? So how do you feel when you're doing this for DuPage Pads? That's what I'm asking.
So I feel accomplished when I help fundraise because at least I'm putting my effort and good deeds to people who really need it in life.
Okay. So if you were talking to other people, you would say to someone your age, this is a very good reason because of how good you feel, these good deeds and very accomplished. This is what you can receive back from doing something like this. And so do you have any future plans of working in any type of work like this, or are you choosing a different type of career? Do you have plans for your future, or is that still open?
Well, this has always been kind of something that would be a side thing where I would keep it as a hobby, like help volunteer and help work and give my debt to society. But I've always kind of wanted to be an architect.
Oh, how very nice. Oh, yes. And you'll always have that opportunity then, yes, to participate in events like this and give back. Oh, how very nice. Do you have an idea of what type of architecture is? Does something draw your attention right now, or is that still open to see what will inspire you?
It's kind of open to see what will inspire me later in life.
Okay. Do you like to draw already?
Yeah, I'd like to draw a lot, and as a little kid, I always loved to play with Legos, so I'd always build like towers or different things that would look cool in my opinion, and that's kind of what also inspired me to do this.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So you received the 2018 Youth Service Award. Can you tell me about that night that you received the award?
Well, that night was kind of like a regular night, just in the car driving to somewhere, and it kind of just feels like a regular night, but when you actually get there, it kind of hits you and just feels like, wow, this is different than what would usually happen. Like, I'm used to going for, like, a run for home. I would used to be, like, going on a stage, and I would just accept an award and go down. But this time I'm actually just staying up there, and I'm getting awards from very important people in our neighborhood of Naperville. And it's kind of nerve-wracking when you get up there and they're telling everything about you. It just makes you think, how is this going to affect others?
Okay, well, so it was a little bit of an eye opener being up there with that many bright lights and on a bigger stage and important people, but at the same time you are very aware that you are very deserving of that award, and it's a very good place to be a role model. So we are very thankful that you are such a very remarkable role model for others to follow in your footsteps. So I'm very happy that you, got up there and received that award and are owning that. So you very much deserve it. So we are going to be bringing your grandmother back on, but would you like to say any parting words to the listening audience? Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to that might be listening and say hello to before we say goodbye?
I'd like to give a shout out to all the people, my group of friends, the homeless helpers, for helping all the years, and my mom and dad who have helped support me throughout all these years. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you, Aiden. I'm very happy to have met you across the line here. I've seen pictures of you from your dad's posts on Facebook, and we will meet in person sometime also. So, all right, if you want to then transfer back over to your grandmother, and we will talk with you later.
Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome. So we will welcome Carol back on the show there.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello, Carol. I don't know about you, but I'm beaming.
Well, it's pretty remarkable when you hear from not only my grandson, but others of young people who really want to make a difference in other people's lives. And they do it in ways that they're comfortable with, and yet, like Aiden was able to bring his group of friends together too. What Aiden didn't say is that his friends were baking cookies. One brought a popcorn machine. And it was quite an experience on that corner lot, and there was a lot of energy there as well, as people would drive up for their glass of lemonade. Even the post office, the postal man dropped by. We had drive-up services as well, so it was very electric and energetic, I have to say, and yet the benefit of over $8,000 that they raised. And,
wow.
People think, wow, 50 cents a glass, $8,000, that's a lot of glasses. So there were also many people who went beyond just the glass and helped sponsor it as well. So thank you, Cindy, for acknowledging young people such as Aiden, able to give back to our community in ways that they can understand and they make possible as well. So thank you for that.
Oh, you are welcome. And we would have brought Chris on too and had Chris talk with us also and tell us his part, had I known that he was as involved as he is. And we can even take a look at that another time, and he can maybe join me and talk about the programs that he implemented that were, have become such a successful portion of everything that you're achieving there at DuPage Pads. So most certainly. And now
I think, what, if I could just say one more thing about Aiden. Aiden
Yep.
has come over and has come to our daytime center, and is very comfortable there with the people that we serve, and was surprised when he talked to many individuals that they were homeless. And I think that's something that people have to see, and maybe through the eyes of our youth, we see one another differently.
Yes. Yes, indeed. For they're not only breaking barriers, but we're breaking barriers.
Exactly.
Humanity also has barriers to break. Indeed. Indeed. How heartwarming. And now you also have a Taste of Hope, I think it is, coming up. Is that a fundraiser that you hold annually? Was that the name of it, A Taste of Hope?
Yes, it's our 13th annual Taste of Hope.
Oh.
And it's an appetizing experience benefiting DuPage Pads. It's Thursday, March 7th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Drury Lane in Oak Brook Terrace. And we have 25 very high-end restaurants joining us for that evening. And it's just a really fun event to come. Aiden came last year and absolutely loved it, and is planning again this year to join us. And we have restaurants like Michael Jordan's, Wildfire, Maggiano's, La Chocolate, Eddie Merlot, the Clubhouse, City Grill. It's just Brios. It's just amazing of these chefs that come with us for the night. And, of course, we have the silent auction and live auction. But also, I'll be talking about our mission and introducing one of our client stories as well. So I love this because it's a mixing time for people, not only with the food and the drink, but to one another as well. There's a high energy to this event. So I hope people can come and join us. We had to move to Drury Lane because we have over 650 people that come to this event. So I hope your listeners out there will think about joining us and come to this appetizing extravaganza that we're hosting.
Oh, sounds yummy. Very yummy
Yeah,
and wonderful. And also then, so as far as donations, people also can give donations. Are there particular items that they could donate? Are there other, do you encourage people to do fundraisers and get in touch with you to run that like Aiden did? So is this something that other people can also do?
Certainly. Certainly go to our website, as I had said, DuPagePads.org, and see the ways in which people can partner with us, either by donating directly to us, becoming one of our PADS partners as well, starting at the $500 annually, going up to $5,000 annually. And then also we have a number of fundraisers out in the community that corporations or restaurants or organizations host for us, and individuals like Aiden and his homeless helpers that have their lemonade stand. So there's a number of ways that people can support us as well, not only with their time, but with their resources and their dollars as well.
Wonderful. And so as we have about 10 minutes left here still, and you have already brought us into a couple of people's personal experiences that you worked with some individuals. Could you maybe take us through one of the stories success stories that really touched your heart? Something to have us understand a process of someone coming in and where they've been able to move to as a result of working through DuPage Pads.
I've kind of a cute personal story with one of our tenants now in our supportive housing program. Annie had been in our overnight program, our interim housing program, and then was invited to come and and look at one of our apartments, and happened to look at the apartment building that we own. And she loves to bake, and she couldn't wait to get her kitchen. And we work with the Assistance League, which is a group of philanthropic women who really come and supply our kitchen. Those of us that have been married for many years would like to have the Assistance League come and outfit our kitchens again. And so Annie moved into her apartment, and she said, Carol, I'm going to come and I'm going to make you a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. And I said, okay. And I kind of forgot about it. And then the week of Thanksgiving, she came over with her pumpkin pie. And I was so thrilled that she did that. And I looked at the pumpkin pie, and it was the shell of the pie, but then it was like a smear of pumpkin. And I looked at it, and I thought, well, this is different, but maybe that's how her family, that's how their pies work. And so every year, Annie comes with a pumpkin pie. A couple of years ago, she came with the pumpkin pie. Now, the pumpkin was like probably most of us know, but it wasn't cooked that well. And I thought, well, okay, here we go. The last couple of years were the piece de resistance because Annie had it down. It's infamous pumpkin pie that we all know about. And she just loves that. Now, an interesting story, I was one of our overnight sites that was near the apartment building that she lives in, and all of a sudden I see her and another tenant walking in. I said, what are you two doing here? And they said, well, we volunteer here. And in Annie's hands were this chocolate cake that she made for the guests that night. And so they've been able to, not only that she able to use her baking skills, but now they're volunteering. She also volunteers at that church, and she comes early and she does most of the work, and they have to put some of the work away because they have other volunteers coming. So she would have gotten it all done. So, it's those kinds of stories that their best gifts are being, for me, and much of a surprise and honored to receive as well. So that, that's one story of Annie. We have other stories as well where people, I've gone into their apartments because a home is where our memories are made, where we plan, where we can think about moving out of and moving into the community, because the way I use the library when I'm homeless is very different than the way we use a library when we have a place to call home. And so we also have individuals. One man, I went on to visit him, and I saw the pictures of his family, his grandmother, his grandparents, and he was so proud of that, and the fact that his daughter comes. At times, she'll stay overnight at his place, and he tells me about the card games that they play, and he's got a little job out in the community, and those are the stories that make our work worthwhile. There's others that we have become their support system. We're the ones that are there with them when they're ill and need attention. And so that's what makes this worthwhile, as well as when I see those children. I remember when Aiden was young, and I would see children the same age as Aiden, and I just would step back and look at them, and I thought, they don't deserve this. Children do not deserve to be without their own bed, without their own place that they can call home. And I knew what Aiden had and has continued to receive from all of us, the support and encouragement he receives from all of us. And that's what our folks need as well. Homelessness, when a child is homeless, that doesn't leave them for the rest of their life. That's still there in their hearts and their minds. And a lot of our folks experience trauma in their lives. And as children, if that trauma is not supported, it lodges deep within their brain. And oftentimes, when they don't receive the support it manifests itself in mental illness or substance abuse. And that's the sadness. The sadness of people coming to our doors with a lot of no hope in their eyes. To see them move through our program, to see them being transformed into what's possible for them in their lives. People never maybe received that you're a great person and there's great things you can do. So we're here. We're their support system. And I think people know that. We just came out of the winter vortex, which we stayed open 24 hours. And the appreciation we got from our clients, but also the volunteers. We have one volunteer. He's there every week, and he wrote and he said, I know we do this night after night. I know that there are different times when there's been challenges with the weather. He said, but truly, when I left in the morning after being there at frigid weather to get there, it was something special that happened that morning. So those are the kind of things that keep us going. And when you work with so many people that are giving of their time and their talent and their dollars to us, it makes us want to be better and want people's lives to be better. So, Cindy, thank you for that.
You are welcome. Thank you to you, your co-workers, your co-volunteers, the congregations, the partnerships, everyone who has offered their time and their heart. It's big. I'm emotional. It's a beautiful story. I didn't realize the expansiveness of it, and it has inspired me also to see more plans that you have put into place become a reality here, because it's a perfect plan, and it can work if everyone did open up to the unity of it, and we will keep at it. So we appreciate you very much, Carol, and the extended family there of everyone at DuPage Pads. And you have already stated the contact website is DuPagePads.org. You also have a Facebook page. Do you want to give us the phone number there?
Sure. 630-682-3846. 682-3846.
Wonderful. So anyone out there who is aware of someone who is in need of the help, that is open for them. And we will be saying good night then. And so thank you again, Carol. Many blessings to you, and you're welcome, and continued success. So goodbye, Aiden. Goodbye, Chris in the background there. And we will see you all around town again. Okay?
All right. Until then.
All righty. Okay. And goodbye, listening audience. I am going to be taking next week off and give myself a little break before I come on with a new series. So I'll be announcing that on my Facebook page, Cindy Magnuson. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye now.